I don't know how to kill, but I know how to love. I know how to kiss very well. So definitely, I can do too, but I can't kill. My biggest fear, though, is God leaving me, because God has always been at my side doing my music and now.
So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. It's been 2 weeks now since Nigerian musical artist MOHBAD passed. He died very suddenly in what we can now term as under mysterious circumstances. MOHBAD's death has sparked not only nationwide outrage, but a global reaction. What has caused this outrage is not just his passing only, but the many videos that have now surfaced online evidencing series of bullying, torturing, attacks and intimidation that he suffered in the hands of his former record label boss Naira Marley and his ally Sam Larry. In today's video, I will be bringing us up to speed with the many updates that have come to light since our last video. The very first update that we will be addressing is the supposition that MOHBAD was buried alive. There has been a very rapidly spreading theory that MOHBAD may have been buried alive. I mean, buried without proper confirmation that he was certified dead. People suspect this because of a number of reasons. One, in the video clip that his friends made, do you remember that video? That very video that his friend made crying and yelling that MOHBAD had passed, videoing his alleged dead body on the internet. Some people say that they spotted some movement and some breathing patterns on MOHBAD in that video. Secondly, MOHBAD was buried very hurriedly by his father, and people question, how can the father be so sure that his young son had passed before committing him down to Mother Earth? Like, how much verification did he do? How much confirmation did he undertake before hurriedly burying MOHBAD in less than 24 hours after he passed? That has also brought about the suspicion that maybe MOHBAD was not even late anyways when he was buried. Thirdly, the identity of the medical personnel that certified MOHBAD dead was unknown at the time. It wasn't mentioned in the story. So people were under the impression that it was from that vehicle where he was being videoed allegedly dead straight to being buried. No medical confirmation, no going to the hospital. And lastly, when MOHBAD's remains were exhumed last week for a post-mortem examination, some observers noticed that there was a pool of blood oozing out from his grave, flowing out of the casket. Some onlookers were even yelling and screaming that his remains were not decomposed. There was no foul stench.
They killed MOHBAD. They killed him. It is not smelling. This is see fresh blood. See fresh blood. Look at MOHBAD. See fresh blood. See fresh blood. See fresh.
They believed that if he had passed at that time he was buried, 1 week after, there should have been some kind of foul stench emanating from that place. But according to them, there was fresh blood, there was no odor, there was no sign of decomposing, thereby fueling the rumors that perhaps MOHBAD was buried alive. Well, it seems like that suspicion has now been put to rest. Perez Medcare Hospital, the facility that confirmed and certified MOHBAD dead, has now put out a press statement. Let us read out a part of it. We consider it pertinent to put on record that about 3:40 p.m. on the 12th of September 2023, the lifeless body of Mr. Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, aka MOHBAD, was brought to our medical facility, and our medical team immediately sprang into action, and after assessment, it was discovered that there was no sign of life, no central or peripheral pulse, no heartbeat, no recordable vital signs, and his pupils were fixed and dilated. On attempting CPR, rigor mortis, which is the stiffening of some parts of the body in relation to death, was observed. And the persons who brought him to our facility were informed that it was a case of BID, brought in dead. So I think that settles the facts and the argument on whether Mohbad was buried alive or not. This press statement actually shows that a registered and licensed medical facility observed him and confirmed that he had died. As to the pool of blood that was flowing out of his casket when he was exhumed for autopsy, there has been several medical explanations about why that is still possible after a person has been committed to Mother Earth even after a week. If you're in the medical field or if you're a medical practitioner and you have the explanation as to why somebody would still be having that amount of fresh blood pouring out of him even after 1 week of being buried, you can share down in the comment section so we can read and also be abreast of that possibility. Now, moving on from that one, another issue that has generated questions and controversy is the nurse, the identity and the intention of the nurse, the culpability of the nurse that administered that fateful injection that was said to have been administered to Mohbad shortly before he passed. A lot of people have considered this nurse a suspect, one who may have been paid by Mohbad's enemy to terminate him through that injection. So people are asking questions. What exactly did she inject him with? What kind of medication was administered? Upon what diagnosis did she administer that injection? What exactly was she treating? How come immediately after administering an injection on a perfectly healthy man, he died? A lot of people have many questions regarding this nurse and this injection that was administered. It's important that I announce to us that first, the police has now taken this nurse into custody for interrogation and questioning. She is to explain what transpired between her and Mohbad, what she was actually treating Mohbad for, and the incidences leading to his death. So she is in custody undergoing interrogation. Now, aside this arrest, the Lagos State chapter of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives have released an official statement about this nurse. It reads in part, "We fully support the ongoing investigation into the circumstances surrounding Mohbad's death and urge the relevant authorities to leave no stone unturned in the pursuit of justice for him. Our preliminary investigations indicate that the individual reportedly taken into custody by the police for providing care to Mohbad is not a registered nurse. To be recognized as a nurse, one must complete a rigorous 5-year Bachelor of Nursing Science program at a university, followed by an additional year of internship. Alternatively, one can undergo training at an accredited school or college of nursing and become registered and licensed by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. When this statement came out, a lot of people were like, dang it, I told you that this lady is not a nurse but a hired assassin paid by Mohbad's detractors to eliminate him. A lot of people had that theory. Well, in as much as when investigating a crime, especially a murder, no possibility should be completely dismissed. No chance at all should be completely overlooked. Everything should be touchlighted. I totally agree. But it is important I mention here, for those that do not know, that it is very, very common practice that these kinds of nurses that we call auxiliary nurses form a huge percentage of the nurses that work in private hospitals in Nigeria. A good number of these private hospitals hire these kinds of nurses that do not have bachelors in nursing. Maybe because their labor is cheap, they're easily hired, they're easily accessible. These private hospitals, the pharmacies on the streets, that's anti-nurse by the roadside that you call whenever you're feeling feverish, many of them do not have bachelors in nursing. Many of them do not fall under the category that this association just mentioned. So it is not completely unusual for you to find these kinds of nurses treating people in Nigeria. Oh yes. So if this association's statement distancing themselves from this nurse is the only premise upon which we base our suspicion, then it is my opinion that it is not well founded. Except there are other more compelling evidences, then by all chance she can be a suspect. But if it is just this statement that she's not a nurse, that people form the premise that, oh yes, she's not a nurse, so she's a hired assassin, then I do not quite agree, because the reality and the practicality of things here in Nigeria is that these kinds of nurses are what people easily access. Save for government hospitals. Many private hospitals, even the best of the best private hospitals, many times make use of these nurses. So I hope the police will make their further inquiries and investigation and drilling and questioning and come up with more substantial evidences if there are any. Only then will this nurses' involvement become a strong subject. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think that this nurse is a suspect, or do you think that she's just a victim of circumstances? Do drop your opinion down in the comment section. The last and the biggest controversy that has rocked this incident in this week is the alleged involvement of MOHBAD's wife and the question of the paternity of his child. You see, when foul play is suspected in the passing of someone, everyone, almost everyone, is a suspect. But the least person that we expected will be dragged into this whole mess is MOHBAD's wife herself. These suspicions that Wunmi, MOHBAD's wife, may have been involved one way or the other further became compounded when an alleged voice note between both of them made it out to the internet. And in that voice note, MOHBAD was heard saying something within the neighborhood of, oh, if something happens to him, it's Wunmi that did it to him. They were in some kind of argument and he was saying all sorts of things. Some people have not viewed this as that regular quarrel or misunderstanding that happens between a man and his wife. They see it as a very big indictment and have called upon the police to call in Wunmi for questioning as well. To them, she is a suspect, because they believe that if we can take MOHBAD's words that if something happens to him, we should hold Naira Marley account, then why are we practicing selective amnesia? Why can't we also take MOHBAD's words that if something happens to him, Wunmi is also responsible? Why are we overlooking that part? According to people that belong to this school of thought, they believe that MOHBAD's widow has some answering to do, has some explanation to make. They believe that she is a prime suspect in this case. Now, on the other hand, these other set of people consider that belief as arrant nonsense. It is their belief that couples fight, couples disagree, and in the heat of the moment, in the heat of anger, they say all sorts of things to each other. Is it because your own relationship is not being filmed? Or your voice notes are not being recorded and released to the public? Both between couples are normal. They explain that couples use all sorts of unprintable words against each other, and at the end of the night, they still end up as ow, ooh, ow. And that is not enough to call her a suspect in her husband's death. In fact, they came up very offended. They saw it as a propaganda by these suspects to distract the attention of people to irrelevant things instead of focusing on the subject matter instead of focusing on the abuse, intimidation, and bullying that this man suffered in his lifetime. According to them, a leaked conversation between husband and wife, as long as it does not directly indict her, it's not a direct threat to MOHBAD's life, it is irrelevant and immaterial, and it cannot be used to rope Wunmi as a suspect in her husband's death. Now, these are the two schools of thoughts. Do let me know what you think about them down in the comment section. Which of them are you taking to? Do you believe that MOHBAD's wife should be called in for questioning? Or do you believe that this is normal couple stuff and it's unfortunate that it leaked out to the internet and that people that are even talking, if they go through their chats with their husbands, if their in-laws see it, their in-laws will even retrieve their husbands or their wives back home. Couples say trash and at the end of the day, they still come back and love upon each other. Do let me know what you think about these two schools of thoughts down in the comment section. Now, it's as though that insinuation was not even enough. Something even messier came up. There has been very strong, wild spreading and disturbing allegations that the child that MOHBAD left behind is not his child. Some even went as far as speculating that that child belongs to MOHBAD's assailant, MOHBAD's abuser, Sam Larry. I mean, the guy who is responsible for tormenting and torturing MOHBAD during his lifetime. They have now demanded that Wunmi must conduct a DNA test on that child to ascertain his true paternity. This is crazy, but maybe on this one, I should give my 2 cents. First and foremost, there has been a rising reports on paternity fraud in recent times, or should I say recent times? Believe me, paternity fraud has always been a thing from time immemorial, but it's just that it didn't possess the resources to figure it out. Those your grandfathers and great-grandfathers that had 10 wives, trust me when I tell you that those younger wives, those children that they bore, let us not even break this table. Let us not scatter this table because there will be no carpenter to fix it. But it's a fact that many of these younger wives bore children from other men that were not their husband. And some of these agitators for DNA tests on MOHBAD's children, can you categorically beat your chest and affirm that your father is indeed your father? So this evil have always been perpetrated by women from time immemorial. But as I mentioned earlier, we are having the resources and the facilities now to detect them. That is why it's looking as though it just exploded in recent times. Now that aside, the first question that I'm going to beg for answers is, during the lifetime of this man, was the paternity of this child in question? Did he doubt the paternity of his son? Was there any time he voiced out or cried out that his wife was cheating on him or sleeping with multiple men, or that she had forced the child on him that maybe might not be his? Was there any question as to the paternity of this child by MOHBAD himself during his lifetime? Okay, now that aside, what about his family, who are next in line when it comes to rights of ascertaining paternity? Are members of his family, any member of his family, in doubt or in dispute as to who the father of their grandchild is or their baby is? Has any family member come out to voice that complaint or voice that concern? Now, even if we want to drill further down, are there any pictures or video evidence or voice recording, anything of any sort, linking Wunmi to any other man or to Sam Larry, or any news or media report of her sleeping around when she was dating MOHBAD? I'm just curious to know. If the answer is not in the affirmative, please may I know on what grounds this test is being demanded or requested, because you can't even demand it. May I know on what ground? Now, aside from grounds, on what locus standi? On what rights? On what? Who bestowed on you and I, members of the public, the locus standi, the right in law to demand that another person's wife gets DNA test for her child. It's absurd to me. As what? As concerned online family? Or as Instagram police? Or Twitter in-law? Who are you? Sit and think of it and define your connection in the scheme of things. Even the police, by law, do not even have the right to demand a paternity test on that child. It is a murder being investigated. It is an alleged murder being investigated, not paternity fraud. It is important that I advise us not to stray from the scope of our rights of involvement, because I think we are getting beclouded by an over-exaggerated sense of self to think that we have the right to demand a DNA test from MOHBAD's widow. As who? Who are you? Are you a family member? Are you the husband? I am not holding brief for MOHBAD's widow or anyone at all in this case. As a matter of fact, my only and primary concern is justice for the late man. And if the trails of investigation lead to her, then by all means she should be called in for investigation, interrogation and questioning. But we need to point out abnormalities and absurdities when we see one. A child a man loved and accepted during his lifetime. A child a man never doubted when he was alive. He cared for and loved and called son, and then he passes and we keyboard warriors think that we have a right to torment his widow, that she should go and run a DNA test on the man's child. Is that even the crux of the issue here? Is that material to the case? The last time we checked, we were dealing with issues of threats to life, assaults, aggravated assaults, attempted murder, and the likes. When has that whole issue now turned into DNA and paternity checks? Are we losing focus? Now, this is my own opinion, and I insist that the public has no right whatsoever, no locus standi. We are acting ultra vires outside the purview of our rights to demand a widow to run DNA test on her child. The only people who have a right to do that are the family members of that late man. And that's if they deem it fit. You cannot sit in your house and hold your phone as a keyboard warrior and start tormenting a widow that she must go and run a paternity test on her child. You have no such rights. Well, just as I said, that is my opinion, and I would love to hear your own as well. If you believe, I've seen such comments in my comment section, if you believe that MOHBAD's wife should run a DNA test on their child, do drop in the comment section why you think so. Support your request, your demand, with proof and reasons. So guys, that is that on today's updates on MOHBAD. As I always promise, my eyes will be open to the ground, and if there are any new updates, be sure that I will bring it to us. If you're new here or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't leave without hitting the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, give this video a big thumbs up, and drop your comments down in the comments section. Stay glued because we have so much more coming your way. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezaville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye.